Welcome to Emmy Knows, interviewing people of interest to the KU campus community. And now, your host of Emmy Knows, Emmeline.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. My name is Emmeline, and this is Emmy Knows, a weekly get-to-know you with the people who help make KU great. Today, I have a repeat guest. With me today is Dr. Donavan McCargo, Assistant Vice President and Dean of Students. If you missed Dr. McCargo's interview from last semester, be sure to check out KUR on Spotify and YouTube. Just search Kutztown University Radio. Now, on to the interview.
Well, thank you again so much for coming back to my show. I had a lot of fun speaking with you last semester, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah, same here. Thank you very much.
Of course. So can you remind our audience what your role at KU entails?
Yeah, so as the Dean of Students at Kutztown University, my primary role is to be an advocate for students, so that when students are in distress or students need support or assistance with things that they're dealing with inside or outside of the classroom, it's my role to provide that support to them. In addition to that, I provide oversight to various different groups, departments and services across the institution designed to support our students outside the classroom primarily. So for example, the Office of Student Involvement, the McCargo Student Union Building, Veteran Services, New Student Orientation, Student Conduct, Multicultural Services. And so a lot of these services report up to our office. There are direct reports that provide the direct oversight to some of these services as well.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's fun. I think the way, I guess the reason why I really jumped into this work is because to provide support to students is critical to their experience in college, and the extent to which we can provide that support and be there for them when they need us really does speak volumes in terms of how they have a wonderful college experience.
So how has the university moving to distance learning changed how you do your job?
Well, the biggest change for me is working from home. I haven't been on campus for a few weeks now, and so I've had to really buckle down and find a workspace from home. It started out in my bedroom, moved to my dining room, and now I'm in the basement. And so besides the physical movement to finding a workspace to support the things that I have to do for the university, just being accessible electronically, a lot more text messages, a lot more phone calls. There's no more walking to a person's office or walking to the student union building. It's a lot more just electronic communication, managing a lot more email. And so a lot of the sort of day-to-day operations of what I do is changed tremendously. And I think second to that is really kind of supporting the staff that also provides services to students and providing the support they need to be up and running to provide those services. And so, for example, all of our offices are open remotely now. And so students can contact those offices directly, either through email. Some offices are checking voicemails periodically throughout the day. And so it's our goal, even all while being away from the campus, we're still designed and prepared to provide really superior support to our students, even remotely.
So you said, you had to adjust from moving to going to people's offices to sort of getting a lot of emails and stuff. What is something that new that you've been tasked with due to this change in relation to your position?
Coordinating teams from home, coordinating teams remotely. That's a really difficult thing to do remotely, is because you could oftentimes call a meeting and grab people together. And really, when you're working in teams, it's important to see a person's affect, right? So how people respond to things or their body language, that can help you support them in different ways or have different types of conversations and kind of see where people are. Having to really transition to moving like Zoom and other Microsoft products, Acrobat, these platforms are really robust, and it's gotten me an opportunity to kind of expand my knowledge base around how to use the different platforms and softwares, how to use Google Voice more effectively and more robustly. And so it's not just about how I've had to adjust, but also how can I support our staff in adjusting as well. And so, making sure our staff has access to the equipment that they need to work from home, and just making sure they feel supported in that way. And if they don't have those things, how can I support them in getting the things that they need? Some of our staff, in fact, had to order desk chairs and desk, and so these are all adjustments. And then I guess too, to further add another layer of challenge for those of us who have children, being home teachers or parent teachers, as well as trying to juggle our professional work lives, can be a difficult challenge as well. So constantly providing affirmation and support, as well as the encouragement our folks need to sort of continue forward despite the circumstances.
So you talked a lot about, you're the person who is supporting all these other people. But is there anything specific that you personally have been struggling with while transitioning to our new normal?
That's a really, really good question. I think for me, it's been there's a balancing act. The balancing act of trying to move us along to this sense of normalcy, and I've talked about that with our staff, is sort of how do we move along this sort of dichotomy of being sort of disrupted, confused, concerned, and anxious to this is a part of our new life, and how do we manage in this new space, albeit it could be temporary or it could be long term. And I guess along with that balancing act is recognizing where people are and how they feel about the pandemic and how they're adjusting personally, emotionally, physically. And so as a leader, I think it's really critical to be mindful of where people are beyond their workspace, because sometimes we can just kind of push people to just do work, and forget that they are humans and they have emotions and they have feelings and they have issues and they have circumstances that may affect the way that they're able to perform their jobs. And so for me, I think I may have mentioned in our previous conversation, I'm a man of faith. And so I do spend a lot of time praying for our staff, praying for our students, our leaders, institutional leaders, our state leaders, our national leaders, because what's happening around us has a tremendous impact on the way people feel as well as the way they work.
So I do want to touch on some of the services available to students during this time. How can students who are struggling with schoolwork or with personal issues find help virtually?
That's a really good question. And I know I've said this in terms of you asking really good questions. That's one of the things you do well. We need to keep a show going. I love your questions. People need to ask. Oftentimes there are several assumptions that are made about what we can access or what we can do or who's supporting me or how I can get help. One of the things I say to students in orientation is that you have to meet us halfway. We will extend our arm, but you have to extend your arm back so that we can connect hands and work together. Our services, all of our services are open, available, accessible. Students can email actually any of our services, from the Multicultural Center to the GLGBTQ Resource Center, the Women's Center, the Community Outreach Center. All of these services are available, and students could email the main email address for that office or department. They can email the director for those departments directly. We put out information on the website, with the COVID-19 website, or the daily updates, as well as the daily brief for faculty and staff. And so we're constantly trying to push things out. And then we're using social media as much as we can, Instagram and Facebook, to sort of alert and inform not just our students, but the parents and families of our students that these are services that are available to all of our students. Counseling center, health and wellness, all of these services are available and open to students who may have a need to use them.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned social media. I follow you on social media, Instagram, and I saw that you've been holding open hours via Zoom. So can you share what inspired you to start this and what benefits students can expect from attending a meeting and speaking with you?
Wow. So it's interesting. We have a team that works together around social media, and we were meeting and we were just figuring out ways to touch students and how do we get them in the fold and kind of hear where they are and what their concerns are. And one of our student workers, she had launched, and it was a combination of a conversation that kind of led us into figuring out what will be the best way to do it. And this whole idea of virtual office hours popped up. And we were like, hey, let's create an image and let's create a platform for this to happen. And it has taken off. We have it two days a week for 1 hour. And on average, there are about 3 people who come into the call. It's a one-on-one conversation, just like what you and I are doing. It's secure. So students and family members have had a few parents jump in as well and talk to me. We talk about things that concern them. We talk about ideas. We talk about things that are important to them. And with our students, some of them is just check-ins. They may have met with me prior to us working remotely, and they just want to keep that relationship going. And so that's an opportunity for that relationship to keep going, and conversations. It's one-on-one. If people don't want to show their face, maybe their hair isn't done or they're not ready, that's fine. They can just have an audio. Or and the other part of that too, which I like about it, is we can text the talk. And so there's a chat feature within Zoom, and some folks want to chat with me. And so I'm able to do that as well. And so just my goal is really just to be accessible as much as I can to our students, our community members, our families, because there are a lot of questions and there are a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. And then on the flip side, there are a lot of students who are progressing quite nicely along this pathway and this journey, even although we're working remotely or virtual education. A lot of folks are moving along the continuum pretty nicely. And so I'm glad to hear those stories as well. But ultimately, it was our goal to just provide an access point to our office, albeit remotely.
That's really awesome. So there's been a lot of talk from the governor and in the news about plans to reopen Pennsylvania. And I know that there are a lot of students who are concerned about the fall semester. So I'm just wondering, who is representing the students' interests to the university administrators when it comes to decisions about reopening the campus?
Well, I think that's a good question. And I think that we can figure out ways, and we need to think about ways to continue to engage our students, and particularly our student government board, around the conversation. They do represent the student body. And I think one of the things that we can do and we should do is think about ways to engage them as well and get an opinion around what's best for our students. But I think one of the challenges to that is that some of those determinations are not made in a funnel, and they're not just made at Kutztown University. We have other parties and other powers that give us direction. Our state leaders give us direction. The chancellor's office gives us direction. And so these decisions to open or to modify the way we provide instruction or our services is not independently made of other factors, other considerations. And oftentimes when those decisions are made, they're made quite swiftly. So it can be very difficult to engage multiple stakeholders and constituencies to be a part of a collective conversation, because those conversations are happening sort of on a daily basis, and the changes are being made hour by hour sometimes, and often day by day. And so while one of the things I'm proud of our university is that we have a strong care and desire to serve our students and do what's best. One of the things I also value is that we have this sort of attitude of do no harm. It's about what's in the best interest of our students. We as an institution, in my opinion, don't necessarily have something to gain individually. Our gain is to make sure that our institution remains open and that we can provide a pathway for our students to continue their education, as well as for those students to graduate who are on their way to graduating as well. And so I agree. I think it's, living in a democracy, it's great to have multiple voices at the table, but sometimes it's difficult to get those voices at the table because the decisions that need to be made are beyond what our capacity to make them, and they're being made at a much higher level. It's particularly now when it talks about our health and wellness. These are decisions that can't be taken lightly, and it require a high level of expertise, typically at a much higher level than our institution, to render those decisions. Because again, from the governor's office, there's sort of these blanket determinations that impact the decisions we need to make at a local level.
Sure. Thank you. That was I really enjoyed your answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So you did mention our seniors. I also wanted to mention our seniors. I know personally, and from speaking to other soon-to-be graduates, that there's just a lot of disappointment and discouragement right now. So if you were to give a message to graduates, not just here at KU, but generally to everyone facing this new reality, what would you tell them?
Man, I know a lot of seniors. I know you. I know countless seniors. There are seniors on the student government board. There are seniors that I know at other institutions. This is a tremendous experience right now. And I'm sad just as much as they are all sad. They're high school seniors. They're seniors across the globe, right? This is a very traumatic experience. What would I say? I think keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on what it is you came to college for. You came to earn a degree, and circumstances and situations that are beyond our control, we oftentimes have to sort of go with the flow and sort of engage in these disruptions in a way that we can still grow from. I'll often tell, even talking to my wife and my spouse, one of the things we talk about is if you're a professional in a workplace and this were to happen to you, how would you adjust? And so part of the message is, this is life in the sense in that we are human beings that need to adjust. We have to adapt to these changes that are beyond our control. And then on the flip side, I say, be patient, because I think there are individuals who are working really, really hard to figure out ways to celebrate your efforts, to celebrate your accomplishment, and don't lose hope just by what you see today, but have a belief in the future that there will be an opportunity for you to be celebrated in this sort of magnificent way because you deserve it. You worked really hard. You made a financial commitment. There were a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for a lot of students along the way of this journey of earning a college degree. And I just want to encourage them to not lose hope. Don't give up on what we see right now as being very glim and very depressing and sort of very negative, and that there's no way to do something to celebrate your accomplishments. There may be a way. And then the last thing I want to say is, figure out ways to celebrate within your family. Figure out ways to celebrate amongst your friends. Albeit we have to social distance right now, are there creative ways to celebrate your accomplishments? Are there ways that maybe your families are doing things or maybe contemplating doing things to celebrate your accomplishment in college or getting a college degree? And I just would encourage, all of our students, our graduating seniors across the globe, or whoever is listening to this moment in time is unique. You are a part of a unique class. You're the COVID class. You will go down in history. This will go down in history, and you are a part of that history. So be proud of the fact that you're making history, that you were a part of this unique experience as a graduating senior in college, and you will be like no other for the rest of time. This will go down in history, and you all are very unique, and you've all had to endure this tremendous experience of bypassing to some degree this monumental experience that typically happens in May, and you're unique. And I think, I know it's a very tough situation. My heart goes out to all of the graduating seniors, high school or college, graduate students who are planning to graduate, people who are earning their doctorate degrees, the highest degree that you can earn in academia. I'm praying that something spectacular can happen to sort of fulfill that moment in time for all of the individuals who are being impacted.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So just sort of to wrap it up, I know we did talk about your virtual office hours, but if people want to get in contact with you another way, how can they do that? Sure.
You can email Dean of Students at Kutztown.edu, or you can email me directly at McCargo@Kutztown.edu. I'm answering emails every single day as much as I can, as quickly as I can. I want to be here for our students. My colleagues want to be here for our students. And the last thing I want to say too is for the students who are out there, and if you're listening to this and you're in a tough place, ask for help. Reach out to anybody, be it your peers, start there if you feel more comfortable doing that, but reach out to a professional staff member at the university and just ask for help, and don't be afraid. Don't look at other people and say that they don't care, or don't assume people don't care. We do care, and we want to be supportive, and we want to see you be successful, but that requires you to let us know how we can help you. And I think too, if folks feel like, students feeling like they are reaching out but they're not getting help, ask someone else, how to get help. And I think it's just about, this is a time where we need to help one another. It's not just about helping each other in college through your college experience, but helping people around you, your neighbors, and being a good human and a good citizen in our country, in this world. And so it goes beyond just this artificial help. It's this really authentic help that we need to all engage in, and being there for one another.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much for taking time to speak with me today.
Thank you.
Of course.